The next question that will be in a parent's mind right now would be, what would I do if I feel my child has a condition where he has a speaking difficulty? I have doubts whether he has any speaking difficulty, so what shall I do? Shall I wait and see? Absolutely not. Don't wait. Evaluate. The speech-language pathologist will compare your child's abilities to communicate as compared to a typically developing child. Therefore, it is important to meet a speech-language pathologist and get a screening or evaluation done. Depending on the result, the speech-language pathologist will tell you if your child does need any form of therapy or whether the child has age-adequate speech and language skills. She or he will also tell you if the child requires only a few sessions of demonstration therapy so that you can continue language stimulation at home, or whether the child needs speech and language therapy. Children who are most likely to have delayed speech and language skills are children with autism spectrum disorder, cerebral palsy, cleft lip and palate, hearing loss, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or even children that have been deprived of speech and language communication when they were young. Such children are children who've either been taken care of by a maid or somebody at home who just attends to all the child's needs instead of asking the child to communicate. As the child had no reason to communicate, the child is not used to communicating and is used to being more or less silent and playing. These are generally reasons that children would need speech and language therapy. But as mentioned before, there are other guidelines of how to suspect if your child has any speaking difficulty. Are there other speech and language disorders you might want to be aware of? Yes, there are. Some children stammer at quite a young age. They have difficulties in that they feel the speech is blocked. You can see very evident tension in their neck region, in their face. They make faces trying to get their words out. Their words are blocked. Generally, you feel like the words are stuck or repeated and the child is not able to say what the child is trying to say, however much he tries. There is also nasal speech. A good way of finding out if your child has nasal speech is you would feel like the child always is speaking as if she or he has a cold when he evidently does not. There are also different voice problems among children where they have a hoarse voice. This is generally in slightly older children. Then many children have difficulties with reading or writing, you would notice. However much you take the child to school and train the child at home, they find it very hard to write simple words. They reverse letters. They're unable to follow proportions of capitals and simple letters. They're not able to detect the sounds of letters. And thus most children end up performing quite poorly in class, not because they don't want to, which is unfortunately the widespread impression, but because they can't. So if you have a doubt in such an area, it's very advisable that you get the child evaluated so that the child is not penalized for something the child is actually unable to do at that point of time. There are also children who have inabilities to say particular speech sounds. Even when they're older and they should have achieved certain speech sounds, their speech is still very unclear due to them using different sounds instead of the sounds they should be saying, leaving out sounds, adding sounds to their speech, thus making it unclear. It is better to diagnose a child's problems or difficulties at the very inception so that the difficulties are less at an early age and the gap between what the child should be saying or what the child should be writing at that age would be less at an early age. So the child will be able to cover the gap faster. For an example, if the child has a difficulty in reading or writing at about 6 or 7 years, which is very early, and you find the child cannot relate to words and sounds, and you take the child for an assessment, the chances that the child would be able to grasp better at this early age is higher than if you wait till the child is 10 or 11 years, till it's concrete that the child is unable to cope with exams, unable to cope with classwork, etc. And then you have more work to do because you've let more time go by. So don't wait, evaluate.